Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for being with us, Ms. McCarthy, so long, and we do appreciate that. Don't
My
feel
honor,
bad.
Senator.
In regard to instant messaging, to the embarrassment of my three daughters, I don't have a clue either as to do that. So let me just ask you a few things that I think are real important. According to EPA and GAO, we're facing a water infrastructure funding shortfall of over $500 billion over the next 2 decades, which amounts to about $25 billion annually. Amazingly, this doesn't even take into account the hundreds of billions of compliance costs, they're going through municipalities that are facing, due to EPA's expansion of Clean Water Act requirements, which sometimes are certainly, right. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think are overly aggressive, okay? But in our communities, the compliance costs are falling on ratepayers that have very little discretionary income. The communities are in trouble themselves. The increased costs disproportionately hit low-income families in economically distressed communities. In response to this, a growing number of cities, groups like the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the National League of Cities, the National Association of Clean Water Agencies, have been seeking increases in flexibility to prioritize Clean Water Act requirements and to develop longer compliance schedules to meet the increasingly complex requirements. So I guess, what I would ask is, so far the EPA has actually been working to partner in these efforts to some extent. I guess my questions are, will you continue to support EPA's integrated planning and permitting framework, which is designed to maximize public utility flexibility in meeting the costly requirements of the Clean Water Act?
Senator, I think you'll find you have a very big friend in me. I've worked for states and local communities. I understand the stress that they're under and the need for us to be flexible as well as support these efforts.
And then along with that, do you have plans to make perhaps the integrated planning even a more useful tool to utilities across the country?
If there is a way in which we can do that, I think that's the smartest thing available to us.
The other thing that's come up is what we'd like to do through congressional action or whatever is to extend longer Clean Water Act permits to give some. One of the things that we've got going on right now that really is impacting the economy in so many ways is you just don't know what the future holds.
Yes.
And so would you be willing to look at longer permit processing so we can have, a longer period that the communities can plan in?
I wish I could tell you I knew enough about that issue to answer that firmly, but because I haven't worked in this area, why don't I go back and I'll take a look at what flexibilities there are, and if I'm confirmed, I'm more than happy to work with you on it, Senator.
Good, thank you.
It'd be great.
One of the things that occurs, the EPA frequently issues proposed rules that really are complex and lengthy, often taking years, with the studies, gathering the information, large volumes, and sometimes thousands of facilities to be regulated. Frequently, the EPA provides only 60 days for comments in regard to some of these proposed rules. That, to me, is a little bit on the short side. So I guess, again, my question is, would you be willing to look at a longer period of time or to have somebody actually, I'm suggesting 90 to 100 days, but I don't really base that on anything. 60 days to me is too long. 60 days just to read the stuff, is probably adequate, but really to look into the underlying stuff. Would you be willing to look at that and
I'm more
make
than
sure
happy
that
to look
there
at that
isn't?
issue.
Good,
yes.
Very much. The other thing is that I guess I'm an optometrist by training, and so I am familiar, with the scientific world. The idea that we have taxpayer finance databases that we can use to conduct cost-benefit analysis by EPA or really any other agency or really any other entity that is making these really, difficult decisions that have tremendous impact, I don't understand why all of that information isn't being made publicly. I was at the White House yesterday and in the evening and visited with the president with a group, You know, I walk through the security, you know, without any problems. I mean, they don't look at me because I'm a United States Senator. But the idea that I can't get the information, you know, that I need to see that the studies that you're doing, and again, I've got trust in the agency, but we have oversight of the agency. I just don't understand that.
Well, Senator, the information that we have not been able to gather and share is information that is confidential. It relates to medical records and information that can trace back to specific people. And we're required to protect that, as are the scientists.
No, I understand.
But having said that, if there is anything that we can do to build a more trusting relationship on these issues, I want you to feel more confident as time goes by that we're doing science as we're supposed to do it, that we're basing our decisions on the best science
But
available.
that can be redacted.
Say it again?
That can be redacted as far as the, you know, the people and that sort of thing. And again, you know, you dumped out a bunch of information that you shouldn't have dumped out, that you know, you acknowledge that you shouldn't have dumped out with people's names and all this kind of stuff. So again, you know, we talk about transparency and this and that. I don't know that there's any, you know, in any other area of research, those things are taken care of, you know, where you redact, you do this and that, names, you know, things like that. But the basic science can be given. There's just no excuse for that.
Senator, I'm more than happy to work with you. If you think there's things that we're not doing, I know that the administration is fully committed to transparency, and I am personally. So we should sit down, and if there's something we're doing to not get your data that you think should be available to you, we'll take those steps.
Good. Thank you very much.